Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bala Jai Ho Giri Giri Vada Gopi Jana Bala Jai Ho Giri Vada Giri Vada Yasodhanandana Jaya Raja Janarandana Yasodhanandana Jaya Raja Janarandana Munachira Manachari Jai Ho Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Munachira Manachari Jai Ho Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Dharma Jaya Kunja Bihari Dharma Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bala Jaya Giri Vada Jai Jai Giri Vada Jai Gopi Janaba Lava Jayo Girivara Girivara Hari Yasunanandana Rajajananandana Yasunanandana Rajajananandana Munachira Manachani Jai Ho Vrindavan Adi Kunja Vihari Radhe Munachira Vanachari Jayo Kunjavi Adi Kunja Vihari Dharmado Jayo Kunjavi Radhe Dharmado Jayo Kunjavi Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Radha Sundar ki, Vrindavan Ishwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Shri Babu Bhara ki. Kirtan forever. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Playground of God, Sri Vrindavan Dham. Very happy to see all of you just here on the eve of Kartik. The Brajbasis have already started observing Kartik, but our calendar is a little different, so we start tomorrow, but tonight's the Sharad Purnima, beautiful festival glorifying the autumn Rasa dance of Radha and Krishna. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Gyantimadandasya Ganangana Shilakaya Chakshunamilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadanti Svapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivindam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Let me begin first. I offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who gave me beautiful Kantimala, effulgent tilak, the beautiful form of a devotee, and who has offered me his shelter. In one of his hands, he is holding my hand, and with his other hand, he is holding the lamp of knowledge, which helps me to cross over the dark ocean of the material world. Surdas says, the great poet, my Guru deserves the greatest respect because only he can rescue one in the blinking of an eye. I bow down to him again and again and again. Srila Prabhupada ki. And for all of you, Shakala Vaishnava Pade Mora Namaskara. Iti kichu aparada nahuka amara, hoichan hoiben prabhur jata bhakta vrinda, bandana kori shabara charanara vindam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas, praying I may not commit offenses in my attempts to please them. To all Vaishnavas who have ever been, and to all Vaishnavas who will ever be, I offer my obeisances unto their lotus feet. Vaishnav Sangha ki, Vaishnav Seva ki. So once again, late tonight, around midnight, is Sharad Purnima, or the full moon night, wherein Lord Krishna enacts his famous Rasalila dance with his gopis in Vrindavan. This Sharadiya Rasalila, as it's called, in turn, you could say, ushers in the first day of the auspicious month of Kartik tomorrow. So you're all here. I'd like to say you're at the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing. So with the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, we'll do our best to discuss as deeply as we can both these auspicious events this morning. As you've noticed, we haven't recited any particular verse in this connection because we'll quote a number of verses, relevant verses, about this Rasalila and about this auspicious month of Kartik tomorrow. So we'll begin discussing the month of Kartik. We're going to get ready. How are we going to get ready? Shravanam Kirtanam brings Krishna Smaranam. So the best way to prepare for tomorrow and the entire 4 weeks of Kartik is to hear. Shravanam is the first of the 9 processes of devotional service. So we will hear, and afterwards we'll chant all day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. The best way to observe the Kartik Vrata is actually chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. So many of you, most of you, all of you are well versed, I'm sure, in the importance of this particular month of Kartik. There's a great benefit of worshiping, observing Kartik in any part of the world. We're very fortunate, but all the wonderful ISKCON devotees Gaudiya Vaishnavas around the world. Everyone's blessed by observing this Kartik. But of course, there's a special benefit in being able to come to Braj, to come to Vrindavan, where Radha and Krishna perform their eternal pastimes, and observe the month here. There's a beautiful verse I found recently in the Adi Varaha Purana. Several times Prabhupada would quote the Adi Varaha Purana. Listen to this. As sunrise destroys the dark of night, as transcendental knowledge vanquishes misery, as the sight of Garuda frightens snakes, as the force of the wind disperses clouds, as the arrival of a lion causes deer to flee, and the force of a lightning bolt levels mountains. So, the very sight of Radha and Krishna's transcendental abode of Sri Vrindavan Dham destroys all sins lodged within the heart. Shri Brajabhumi Sri Vrindavan Dham ki. So here we are, in the lotus feet of Gaur Nitai, Krishna Balaram, Shri Shivada Shama Sundar, Shri Prabhupada's Samadhi, which is for us the most sacred place in the universe. Sometimes devotees go out. Prabhupada encourages to go around Vrindavan, to go to various holy places in India to become enlivened, but we always come back to our home, the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. That Samadhi is the most sacred place in creation. And as we all know, the month of Kartik is especially favorable for what? Spiritual activities. I was thinking that just as the hour before sunrise, Brahma Muhurta, is the most auspicious part of the day for spiritual practices, right? We want to get up before the sunrise. Everyone's busy out in the world. That hour and a half before sunrise, that's the most auspicious time of the day. So in the yearly cycle of 12 months, this month of Kartik is the most favorable for spiritual practices. The Shastras say that just as a result of giving 10,000 cows in charity can be obtained simply by offering one tulsi leaf, the lotus feet of Krishna, so the result of taking bath in all the holy places in creation can be achieved simply by taking one bath in the month of Kartik. And the Padma Purana also chips in here, has something to say about this auspicious month of Kartik, which is just a few hours away. Padma Purana says, the Lord may offer liberation or even material happiness to a devotee, but once one has rendered devotional service in Vrindavan, particularly in the month of Kartik, such a devotee ends up hankering for what? Only pure devotional service. Padma Purana. Now, as most devotees know, another name for the month of Kartik is the month of Damodar. Yes. Now, it's interesting, this month is called Damodar for two reasons. According to the Vaishnav Almanac, the 12 months of the year are named after 12 Vaikuntha forms of Krishna or Vishnu. And these 12 forms are thus known as the predominating deities of each month. There's a predominating deity of each of the months. For example, May is the month of Trivikaram, June is the month of Vamana, July is the month of Sridhar, and August is the month of Rishikesh. And this month we're in now, according to Vedic calendars, October, November, sometimes the months are merged, like in the Vedic calendar. October, November is a month of Damodar. And we're grateful because the weather just changed from blazing hot to temperate. In a couple of months it's going to be freezing cold, so Krishna arranges everything for his devotees. So tomorrow we begin the month of Damodar. Now the second reason that this month is called Damodar is, of course, because of the famous pastime of Mother Yasoda tying or binding Krishna to a grinding mortar with a rope during this month. And she will do so again, because there's pakat and uppercut leelas. There's uppercut, which means manifest to our eyes, and there's uppercut means pastimes are still going on. This is an eternal Dham. It's not destroyed at the time of creation, Vrindavan. If we had these spiritual eyes to see, we could see the pastimes taking place again and again, over and over, here in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So, Mother Yasoda will again bind Krishna with the rope. In Sanskrit, Sanskrit words can be interpreted or not interpreted, but they can have different meanings. In Sanskrit, a rope is called dhamma, D-A-M-A, dhamma. And a belly, your belly is called udara. Oh, I ate too much, my udara is feeling sick. Udara. So rope is dham, and belly is udara. So one with the rope dhamma around his belly, udara, that's Damodara. And that's Krishna. So as the pastime of Mother Yasoda binding Krishna with the rope took place during this month is also referred as the month of Damodar. So two reasons. When you go back home, someone asks how your trip was, and they ask you, you know what, I heard it's the month of Damodar. Like, why do they call it the month of Damodar? Well, Maharaj said the day before Kartik. Now you know. During this month of Damodar, it's said that if one manages to capture Krishna with the ropes of pure devotion, he will be released from the bondage of repeated birth and death and go back home, back to Godhead, specifically to Golok Vrindavan. Not Vaikuntha, the official kingdom of God. The Lord is worshipped there by many wonderful devotees in his various incarnations in Aishvarya Bhav, the mood of awe and reverence, but the special mood of Braj as revealed by, first of all, Madhavinda Puri, and then fully by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, is in the mood of very intimate love with the Lord. Now, in my research, I came across something really interesting for all of you. One time, Srimati Radharani also bound Krishna with a rope. Did you know that? We always hear Damodar, Damodar, Yashoda. But one time Radharani, she also bound Krishna with a rope. Where did I find it? Because when you speak in learned circles, you always have to refer to the Shastra. You can't say something unless it's there in the Shastra. It's not make-believe Krishna consciousness. It's absolute truth. So everything is there in the scriptures. So when a devotee is speaking, when required, he has to refer to the scripture where the verse came from or the topic or whatever. So where is it said that Radharani bound Krishna with a rope? Bhavishva Purana, in the Uttara Kanda section. I found it last night. It's described that once Krishna came late for a rendezvous. This happens often, actually. There's many pastimes like that. Krishna came late for a rendezvous with Srimati Radharani in a kunja. Kunja means like a pasture or a grove of flowering trees. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha and Krishna enjoyed their pastimes in these kunjas. So there was a rendezvous. Radharani was there first. Krishna came late. Now we've heard of Radharani's man when she gets angry. So in loving anger, let us say, in loving anger, Shri Radha looked at Krishna with frowning eyebrows, like this. Frowning eyebrows. And then she took some golden vines with flowers. Imagine some golden vines with flowers. And tied them like a rope around Krishna's belly to punish him for not showing up on time. You rascal, I'm going to tie you up. So this golden vine of flowers, she tied up Krishna. But then Krishna explained that he was late because Mother Yasoda had kept him home for a festival. So it's described in the Bhavishya Purana that realizing her mistake, Radharani quickly untied her beloved Damodar. That's how the pastime finishes. She untied her beloved Damodar. So for Radha, Krishna is also called Damodar, and for Yashoda, he's called Damodar. And actually, as you know, we glorify both Lord Damodar and his beloved Srimati Radharani in this month. That's very important. Both are glorified, as described by the great sage Satyavrata Muni, isn't it? And his Damodar Ashtakam. Do we start tonight or tomorrow? Damodar Ashtakam. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastimes. So there, Satyavrata Muni reveals that we're also worshiping Radha in this month of Kartik. It's important to understand. In fact, Srila Rupa Goswami describes Sri Radha as Kartika Devi. There's different Devis, goddesses, yes? The goddess of this, the goddess of that. Lakshmi Devi. Sri Radha is the source of all the Lakshmis. She's the original goddess. So Rupa Goswami describes Radha as Kartik Devi. She's the goddess of Kartik. We're going deeper here, how important it is to worship Radha in this month. She's the goddess of Kartik. And in his Radhika Ashtotara Satanam Stotram, for me it's a bit of a tongue twister. Radhika Ashtotara Satanam Stotram. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami writes, quote, Radharani is Damodar's unrivaled beloved, who bestows auspiciousness during the Kartik month. Radharani gives mercy during this month. So when we chant Hare Krishna, because we're calling out to Radha and Krishna, Hare, we should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Rama. Why? Because according to Raghunath Das Goswami, Radharani is Damodar's unrivaled beloved, who bestows auspiciousness during this month. So this is a month for calling out for mercy. The deity of Radha, solely for her pleasure. So with Prabhupada's mercy, we have most beautiful Radharani, Radheshyam here. So Damodar is pleased if you come before Sri Radha and you chant her glories. He goes on. Whatever spiritual practices are sincerely performed during this month are blessed by Srimati Radhika. Sanatana Goswami. Therefore, we take advantage of this month because it's just, what does Jesus says? My cup runneth over with love. It's just brimming with nectar, with mercy, with kripa this month. And we're all desiring kripa. Therefore, devotees take advantage of the month to take special vows. And that instruction is there by our founder Acharya, by Srila Prabhupada. He wants us to take special vows during this month. In Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada writes, one should surrender to Krishna in all respects, and one should observe particular vows like the Kartik Vrata. He's encouraging us. One should surrender to Krishna in all respects, not a little bit here, a little bit there, but Atmanivedanam, the ninth of the 9 processes. Surrender everything to Krishna. And in that very important instruction, he says, one should also observe particular vows like Kartik Vrata. So devotees take vows to chant more japa, to read Prabhupada's books more, to sleep less, to not listen to the mundane news. Let the world go by. We don't care. It's just chewing the chewed. History repeats itself. The good, the bad, and the ugly, mostly the ugly. We don't need that. We can practically throw our phones away. Throw them in the Jamuna for the month of Kartik. Don't really do that. Just. Now, because Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Prakriti Kanda, 34th chapter, 90, verse 90 and 91, states as follows: on the first day, tomorrow, on the first day of the month of Kartik, during the full moon, Radha, the beloved of Lord Krishna, must be adored. Again, stressing Srimati Radharani. On the first day, as tomorrow, during the full moon, Radha, the beloved of Lord Krishna, she must be adored. So, we've discussed Kartik. Well, we could discuss for many hours. My Parikama Guru, Dina Bandhu, he can go on for hours just about Kartik, but time is limited. Because she's to be adored, we'll go on from here and discuss the role she and her gopis played in the celebrated Sharadiya Rasa Leela dance. In Krishna consciousness, it's not like the material world when there's a big event, whatever happens next is anticlimactic. But whatever we say, and whatever we do in Krishna consciousness, whatever we say, it just gets better and better and better. Ananda Buddhi Bharavanam, Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is blissful when it's expanding. So we've discussed Kartik, and now because Srimati Radharani and her girlfriends are so, there's such an important pastime with them and Lord Sri Krishna in the month of Kartik. We'll discuss, because that happens tonight, this Sharadiya Rasa Leela dance. Of course, we'll all be asleep. But we observe this festival by cooking some delicious sweet rice, and traditionally devotees put it at the top of the temple. Especially here in Braj, there's always a level area, some part of the temple, above the deities. So we won't see, but the pujaris will be cooking big vats of sweet rice. And they put it on top of the temple for the members of the Rasa Leela to enjoy it during the moonlight. That's our seva. So as we all know, Rasa Leela, it's a very deep subject matter, is the topmost of all of Krishna's pastimes. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.1, 219 quotes the Brihad Vamana Purana. We know how the Goswamis went through all the Vedic scriptures to show that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Vrindavan is a divine abode, his playground. So Rupa Goswami quotes Brihad Vamana Purana, wherein Krishna points out how this Rasa Leela, his dance with the Braja Gopis, is his favorite pastime. Sometimes people ask me, what's your favorite prasadam? What's your favorite tune? What's your favorite place for doing Sankirtan? So what's Krishna's favorite pastime? Krishna says, Shanti yad yapi me parjya, lilas tasta mano hara, nahi jane shmite rase mano mekrid rasim bhavet. This is Krishna speaking, revealing his heart. He says, I enjoy many pastimes, and all of them are enchanting. But Rasa Leela is so powerful that as soon as I think about it, I cannot explain what happens to my heart. I'll recite that again. This is Krishna. We hear him in Bhagavad Gita. Now we're hearing him in the Brihad Vamana Purana, quoted by Sanatana Goswami. I enjoy many pastimes, and all of them are enchanting. But Rasa Leela is so powerful that as soon as I think about it, I can't explain what happens to my heart. This Rasa Leela is very deep. Ultimately, we know it's really relished by Rasik devotees. The Sanskrit meaning of Rasik, you could say, is a connoisseur of Bhakti Rasa. Really, it's meant for those very advanced devotees. Chetu Dharpana Marjanam, whose hearts have been totally cleansed, and that golden seed of bhakti has been awoken through the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. At the same time, however, hearing about rasa dance is not forbidden for sadhakas, for aspiring devotees, if they hear the pastime from an authorized spiritual authority like Srila Prabhupada. And for our benefit, Srila Prabhupada actually summarized the whole Rasa Leela pastime with comments in his book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which was one of the books we were distributing in 1971 in the ghettos of Detroit. Also interesting is the Srimad Bhagavatam's own statement about hearing and chanting Rasa Leela, how it's beneficial even for aspiring devotees. Note, Srimad Bhagavatam 10, chapter 33, verse 39. Quote, anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotional service. Thus he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, that disease of the heart. It's like fighting fire with fire. So also Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela 5, verses 45 to 47, it says the same thing. It gives us permission this morning to discuss this. It says, when one hears or describes with great faith the pastimes of Lord Krishna, such as his rasa dance with the gopis, the disease of lusty desires in his heart, and the agitation caused by the three modes of material nature are immediately nullified, and he becomes sober and silent. You see Chaturabha here. He's sober and he's silent. And that's after a long flight all the way from Florida. He's all ears. Because we're allowed to hear the subject matter. Because whatever we say, we've heard from Srila Prabhupada. Now, it's interesting to mention that there's different types of rasa dances. We generally think of the rasa dance, but there's different kinds. There's many rasa dances. For example, tonight will be the Sharadiya Rasa Leela, means autumn. And there's the Vashanta Rasa Leela, which means springtime. Actually, the Shastras say Rasa Leela takes place every full moon night. But only the Sharadiya Rasa dance and the Vashanta Rasa dance have been recorded or described in our scriptures. The Sharadiya Rasa is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, which I had to read to prepare today, and the Vashanta Rasa Leela is described in Gita Govinda. Now in the Sharadiya Rasa dance, which we're celebrating today, or tonight, in this particular Rasa Leela, Krishna leaves the Rasa dance with his most beloved Radharani. There's different scenarios and all, variety is the spice of life. That's absolutely true in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we hear of an incarnation comes and, like Lord Nrsingadev, for example. Lord Nrsingadev is described in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam how he how he grabs Hiranyakashipu and he appears from the pillar, and then there's a fight, he grabs Hiranyakashipu and tears out his intestine. In the Nrsinga Purana, it's described that sometimes Nrsingadev just walks into town and comes in the palace and kills Hiranyakashipu, who's tormenting Prahlad. Sometimes it's described, I was reading Nrsinga Purana, he appears from a flower. So there's different varieties, different mellows, because rasa is very deep. Rasa means emotions, spiritual emotions. So it's a flood of emotions we will experience one day by Prabhupada's grace and Krishna consciousness. So in this particular rasa dance, Krishna leaves with Radha. Now in Sharata Dharshani, which of course is a commentary on the 10th canto of Bhagavatam by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 1031, he explains that this particular rasa dance that's happening tonight, it has 5 phases. Love is in the details. 5 phases to this rasa dance. 1, the gopis' madness and separation. 2, they're inquiring from the trees and the deer, where did Krishna go? They're imitating Krishna's pastimes. And 4, Krishna's enjoyment with Radha. And 5, he's leaving the rasa dance with her and later abandoning her. That's a deep subject. So at some point in the rasa dance, the autumn rasa dance, Radha and Krishna left for their pleasure. And when the gopis realized they were gone, they were devastated. Because as much as you're attached to something, when you lose it to that degree, you feel the loss. We gave the example here the other day that if you lose your pencil in class, it hurts a little bit. But if someone, steals your car, So, how much did the gopis love Krishna? Volumes have been written, but we can summarize. Eloquence is truth spoken concisely. The gopis loved Krishna more than anyone's ever been loved before. In the mood of pure devotion, selfless love, Braj Bhakti, unique love, only found in Vrindavan, or in the hearts of pure devotees when they're in this world, like Srila Prabhupada. So when when Krishna disappears, we can hardly understand what is that Vipralamba Bhav, what is that, the intensity of that separation. So all the gopis, they were devastated. So at that point, they also left the dance arena and they were wandering around Vrindavan, searching for Krishna. It's described in the Bhagavatam and also by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They first inquired from that famous tree at Vamsivat. What's that famous banyan tree at Vamsivat? That's where Krishna played his Vamsi. He played his flute to call the gopis in the middle of the night to come and dance with him in the forest that night. Another Rasa Leela. And they're famous at that point because the gopis gave everything up to come. They left their babies, their husbands, their homes, even their reputation. And they came. And Krishna teased them, but that's another pastime. So they went to that tree where they remembered Krishna had played his flute, Vamsidhara, and called them, thinking maybe he would be there, and they inquired from the tree, "Where's Krishna?" The tree didn't know. Actually, it's described, they received no reply. Then they questioned other trees, and they questioned the tulsi plant, then they questioned the vines, and they questioned the creepers, and they questioned the earth, and they questioned the deer, because everything in Vrindavan is fully conscious. We shouldn't think the deer as ordinary animals, or what to speak of the cows or the parrots, they're all fully realized sages who are participating in giving Krishna pleasure in Vrindavan. Actually, all the rasas are serving Madhurya Ras in Vrindavan Dham. And happily so. Everyone's happy to be a bird or a peacock or a tree, Kalpaviksha tree. Madhavinda Puri, who appeared just prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's described in Shastra that he's a Kalpaviksha tree at Nidhivan. And being there at Nidhivan, seeing all the confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, when he appeared for the purpose of spreading Krishna consciousness on this earthly planet, he initially introduced everyone to Braja Bhakti. O my Lord, O gracious to the lowly, thou art now living in Mathura. When wilt thou come to me, O darling mine? My heart is burning in pains of separation. Oh, what shall I do? Oh, what shall I do? Oh, what shall I do? This is the mood of the gopis when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura. And that mood was exemplified by Madhavinda Puri on his deathbed. He was singing like that. Great separation. So they inquired from all these fully enlightened Brajavasis, but none of them knew. This is Purnamasi's pastime. They became despondent. And in that despondency, because this Vipralamba Bhava is actually something very special, it increases one's love. Separation makes the heart grow fonder. Don't think of it as, something terrible and horrible. No, it just serves to increase one's love for the beloved. So, in that state of Vipralamba Bhava, they became despondent, and it's described that they experienced the state of pramada. Pramada means divine madness. Divine madness. Just like Prabhupada wrote that little booklet, or he wrote that little piece in the early 70s. Who is crazy? People think we're crazy. Hare Krishna, get a job. Hey, I got the best job. I'm going home, back to Godhead. So we also want to become crazy, but crazy for Krishna, mad for Krishna. So that's called divine madness. It's somewhere ahead, Prabhu's. Vasudeva Savamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. After many, many births, Krishna says, one comes to me. But Mahaprabhu's more merciful than Krishna. And Prabhupada, you could say, in one sense, is even more merciful than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by his mercy, maybe we can achieve pure devotional service. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, at an initiation ceremony, 1932, I read it in the Harmonist. He told his disciples, I see no reason why all my disciples cannot go back to Godhead in one lifetime. That gave me great hope. Hold on to Prabhupada's lotus feet. One time a devotee said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I always want to be next to your lotus feet. And Prabhupada said, well, you better be quick because these lotus feet are traversing this planet very quickly. But we can be at his feet also by following his instructions. So that state, they famously, as we read in Krishna book, they acted out many of Krishna's pastimes in that divine madness, which the acharyas say allowed them to taste some fleeting pleasure. That's what the acharyas say. They're acting out Krishna's pastimes because they'd lost him, so they just, like we speak the pastimes, they acted out the pastimes because they knew them very well. And that allowed them to taste some fleeting pleasure. Some played the part of Krishna's demons. Well, they weren't Krishna's demons, they were Kamsa's demons, but they're demons that came to Krishna and got liberated. They played the part of demons. Putana, one gopi played the part of Putana, one played the part of Trinivarta, one played the part of Kaliya, one played the part of Vatasura. Now, one may wonder how the gopis could assume the role of demons. These are the purest girls in the three worlds and beyond. How could they assume the role of demons and be antagonistic to Krishna even in play? Well, seek and ye shall find in the Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Kavikona Purna, he writes that Yogamaya, Purnamasi, who arranges all these pastimes, she assumed the form of those demons, not the gopis. They were just watching. They were thinking they were doing it. This is all quite deep. It was Yogamaya. But after that, these young girls, they enacted Krishna's, it's described, less ferocious pastimes. Some of them played the flute. They're all missing Krishna, so I'll play the flute. Watch, girls, remind you of Krishna. They played games. They played devouring a forest fire. They played Krishna. They played the Damodar Leela, Krishna being bound by his mother. And one girl lifted up Govardhan Hill. So eventually the intensity of the gopis' madness subsided, and they continued wandering from forest to forest in search of him. Now, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, beginning text 25, at one point, the plot thickens, it gets more and more exciting. At one point, the gopis, they didn't find Krishna, but they found Krishna's footprints. That's a big thing. There's still, you can see Krishna's footprints here in Vrindavan in stone because he'll be playing his flute and the stone will melt in ecstasy. Because Chintamani Dham, everything's conscious in Vrindavan. Braj Renu, the dust of Vrindavan, is one of the personalities who can give you entrance into Vrindavan. So everything's conscious. So the gopis, when they come across Krishna's footprints in the Braj Renu, they never touch them. Oh, Krishna's footprints. They're sweeping, how the gopis sweep to keep everything clean, the kunjas for the pastimes. They never touch Krishna's footprints. So they're aware of these footprints. And in one sense, they're not different than Krishna. And they notice them as being Krishna's footprints, because cowherd boys are out there too. There's lots of footprints. But they notice them because of their distinctive features. And what are the distinctive features of Krishna's footprints? We should also know. We also want to be Brajabasis. So we have to know everything about the Dham, everything about Krishna and Balaram and Radhesham and our acharyas. We have to study the scriptures day and night to become familiar. How can you love someone if you don't know anything about them? And knowing everything about them will facilitate your bhakti. The tattva will help you in your rasa. So they noticed, oh yes, these are Krishna's footprints, because they were marked with the distinctive flag, the lotus, the thunderbolt, the elephant goad, and the barley cone. That's Krishna's footprints. On our feet, we just have some lines, right? Krishna has a flag, a lotus, a thunderbolt, an elephant goad, barley corn. And Vishwanath Chakravarti has commented, quoting the Skanda Purana, on the sole of Krishna's right foot, at the base of his big toe, is the sign of the Sudarshan disc. He writes that the 6 enemies headed by lust are destroyed by devotees who just remember this mark. Maybe you can't see it, but if you remember it, the 6 enemies headed by lust, be gone with you. And just below Krishna's middle toe, he says, is the mark of a lotus. He writes, the bee-like hearts of the devotees who meditate on this lotus become greedy to drink its nectar. Then he describes that under the lotus, on Krishna's foot, is a flag. And devotees who meditate on it can attain victory in all anarthas and become Abhay Charan, fearless, having taken shelter of these lotus feet of Krishna. Then on the Lord's right heel is the sign of a goad. Goad means for controlling elephants. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if one remembers this goad, not just an ordinary goad, but the goad on the foot of Krishna, then that devotee's uncontrolled elephant-like mind is brought under submission. So if you're chanting japa and your mind's wandering, think of the goad on the bottom of Krishna's foot. Boom, it'll go. Then at the base of the small toe on Krishna's foot, right foot, there is thunderbolt. And Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, remembering this thunderbolt annihilates a mountain of sins. Then finally there's a barley corn at the base of that big toe, and remembering that brings all kinds of riches. So if you need money for your ticket to come to India, you're stranded somewhere in Alachua and you can't make ends meet, then you just remember that barley corn. That's what Charatma did. That's what got him here. Remember the barley corn. Somebody gave him a donation and he flew here. There's other symbols as well. There's an umbrella. There's 4 swastikas. There's a fruit. Now that's the right foot. I have permission to go a little later, by the way, so if you're hungry, you can go at 9 o'clock, but this is also prasad. On Krishna's left foot, on the sole, at the base of his big toe, there's a conch. And if you meditate on that, Vishwanath says, that will give you all kinds of knowledge, Krishna conscious knowledge. Now, on the soles of Krishna's feet, there's also syllables of, there's a syllable of the sky, there's a cow's hoof print, there's a triangle around which there's 4 pots. Couldn't figure that one out. And then there's a half moon and there's a fish. So altogether, 18 emblems on both feet. Anyway, that's Krishna's feet, because they knew the gopis. They know Krishna better than anyone. So after discovering the Lord's footprints, the gopis followed them for some distance, and suddenly they saw another set of footprints, but lighter and smaller. Wow! Should I go on? They found some other footprints. They're a little lighter and smaller, and they were just to the left of Krishna's footprints. And they had markings similar to his. And based on the position of these 2 footprints, the gopis guessed what had happened. Krishna himself had taken Radha away. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments at this point, how different sets of gopis looked at these footprints of Radha. We've come across Radha's footprints. Now there's different groups of gopis. Not just one group, there's many because there are different mellows, different emotions in love. So different gopis. So Chandravali and the other Vipaksha gopis, who are Radha's competitors, they became disturbed. Oh, there's Radha's. It's transcendental. We don't have time to go into it. But Chandravali, they saw it's no big deal. They're just looking for Krishna. Other gopis neutral to Radha, they're called Tatashta gopis. They didn't pay much attention to the fact that there were some other gopis' footprints, and they glorified Krishna's footprints. But the Surit Paksha gopis, the friendly groups such as Lalita and Vishaka, they recognized, oh, those are Radha's footprints. And Vishwanath said they became internally enlivened. We also become internally enlivened, right? We're sadhakas, we're in practice, works in practice. But, we also, by Prabhupada's mercy, Prashadam's Krishna's mercy, we hanker for it. We want to chant our rounds. We want to associate. We don't want to come to Braj. But when you're very advanced, you see the footprint of Radha and you become internally enlivened. Radha Dasi. But since these Suri Paksha gopis were the friendly group, they were amongst many different groups of gopis, they pretended not to recognize the footprints. This is like a drama evolving, but the original drama. And at that time, without mentioning Radha's name, they declared, these Surit Paksha gopis, they declared her good fortune. At this point in history, with one of the most famous verses in all Gaudiya literature, Ananya Radito Nunam Bhagavan Hidir Ishvara Yanno Vihaya Govinda Prito Yam Anad Radha. Certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to this secluded place. So from that verse, we get the name Sri Radha. Critics sometimes accuse Gaudiya Vaishnavas of artificially exalting Sri Radha. They say her name's never mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 8, verse 100, Srila Prabhupada refutes this claim. He writes, sometimes the critics of Srimad Bhagavatam find it difficult to find Radharani's holy name in that book, Aradhya. But the secret is disclosed here in the word Aradhita, from which the name Radha has come. Aradhita. That's the verse. That's the verse. If I ever got a tattoo, I'm not into tattoos, my friends are, I'd probably, get that verse or something. Why didn't you do that verse? Now, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-37 describes that as the two lovers pass through one part of the Vrindavan forest, the special gopi, Aradhita, the one who gives such pleasure to Krishna, feeling a little proud of herself, but don't think of it as mundane pride. It's not mundane pride. Just like we're proud to be followers of Srila Prabhupada. The best name you can give a devotee, that he's a Prabhupada man or she's a Prabhupada lady. We're very proud of that fact. We're Prabhupada's followers. So think of it like that. She told Lord Keshava, Keshava, I cannot walk any further. Please carry me wherever you want to go. So Krishna said to her, all right, my beloved, climb on my shoulders. And when she did, as we know, he disappeared. Now Vishwanath says, as unexpectedly as if Rahu had devoured the full moon. That's an interesting way to describe that Radha disappeared. As unexpectedly as if Rahu had devoured the full moon. These poets are, what is the use of a bowman's arrow unless it pierces the heart? What is the use of a poet's words unless they melt the heart? As unexpectedly as if Rahu had devoured the full moon. And at that time, he describes Radharani went into divine shock. Her smile vanished, her eyes went dim, her face faded, and like a withered golden lotus, she tumbled to the ground, reaching out desperately for Krishna with her hands. And she cried out, We're so blessed to be able to see this through the eyes of Guru and Shastra. This is what our eyes are hankering for. What did she cry out? Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30, verse 39. Hananta Ramana Preshta Kvasi Kvasi Mahabhuja Dasyate Kripanaya Me Saki Darsaya Sanidam. Addressing Krishna. O possessor of my life, O lover, O dearest one, where are you? Where are you, O mighty armed one? O my friend, I am your most fallen maidservant. Quickly come to me and give me your darshan. So at that point, Radha fainted. And because she fainted, she was in one place in the meadow. She was visible to the gopis who were looking for her, and they came to her. It's described by her brilliant effulgence, they could see her. Then, feeling great sympathy for her, they tried in every way to revive and comfort her. All of them together. This is important. The acharyas say this is significant because, as we know, where there's some rivalry, usually there's competition. And that's true in the spiritual sense in Vrindavan, we were mentioning. Chandravali, Radharani. Because, there was some spiritual rivalry between some of the gopis, but, Vishwanath says, the beauty of spiritual relationships can be seen in this attitude of all the gopis trying to comfort Sri Radha together. That would be a wonderful mood in ISKCON. Despite our differences, we could come together and work in a cooperative way to solve the problems. And we see that in these different groups of gopis, who, there's rivalry, there's arguments, there's push and shove sometimes. When Sri Radha was on the ground fainting, they all came together, gave up their differences, and tried to comfort her. One acharya says, in the mutual pain of separation from Krishna, even competitors' feelings of rivalry transform into mutual affection. Isn't that beautiful? So at this point, despite their best efforts, they couldn't revive her. Her condition put these gopis in such distress that Lalita, Vishaka, Tungavidya, they all began fainting. The Sakis, the older girls. And even, they all melted and they all fainted. But listen to this. Finally, the fragrance of Krishna, still lingering on the gopis' bodies because of the Rasa dance, reached Radha's nose and caused her to wake up. For us to wake up, our mind, good, I'll get rid of this drink. Radha woke up smelling the fragrance of Krishna's Satchidananda, transcendental form. And at that point, Sri Radha and all the gopis sat in a state of deep separation from Krishna. One gopi said, he might be out of sight, but he must also be nearby. They're always hoping. Krishna's, just like Prabhupada, when he first came to Vrindavan, he said, I was walking around Vrindavan, I was thinking or hoping that Krishna would just jump behind any one of the bushes out and I would see him. And isn't it? The six Goswamis, they never claim, I have seen Krishna. They're always in the mood of, where is Krishna? This is Vipralamba. Hard for a person who doesn't have some knowledge of Krishna consciousness, but we're beginning to understand. Just like I mentioned the other day, when Prabhupada was at New Mayapur, and 1974, he gave darshan outside on the lawn, and he was speaking about how a pure devotee sees Krishna everywhere because of his love. It's like a mother, baby's, in kindergarten, but she sees the shoe and the bottle and the crib. Reminds her of her baby. So the pure devotee sees everything because everything's Krishna's energy everywhere. So then Prabhupada asked for questions. So I raised my hand. I just wanted to be noticed by Prabhupada. I didn't actually have a question, but I thought, if I raise my hand, he'll see me and he knows I'm one of his disciples. Kind of got up like that. Prabhupada, yes. I didn't have a question. So then I thought, Prabhupada, you say that the pure devotee can see everywhere. But in the Shikshastakam prayers, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared in the mood of a devotee, he's saying, "Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. It appears to be contradictory." Prabhupada just looked at me. He said something to the effect that this is a very deep subject matter. One day when you're very advanced, you will understand. Hare Krishna. So that day's many lifetimes ahead, but I was glad to hear that. And then he made a remark, quick remark, how in separation one's love increases. So Krishna is very, and he kind of trailed off. He didn't feel we were qualified that time to hear very much more. So for a devotee, although Krishna is far away, he's also very near because of the smaranam. The smaranam. Shravanam Kirtan brings Krishna's smaranam. So one gopi said, he may be out of sight, but he must also be nearby. Always hoping, Krishna, where are you? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I told my disciples many times that we have the traditional translation of the Maha Mantra. Prabhupada would often give, my dear Lord, my dear energy of the Lord, etc. One time, devotee asked Prabhupada, what does it mean, this Hare Krishna mantra? Prabhupada said it means, my friend, my friend, my friend. So even in our state, a friend in need is a friend indeed, and Krishna is our friend because every day he comes and knocks on the door, wake up. Once in a day of Brahma, but that's real time, the time of the demigods, not our puny time. Every day is coming. Sarvadharmam parichaja mamekam saranam braja. So he's our friend, so when you chant, you can think like that. He's my ever-wishing friend. He may be out of sight, but he must be nearby. So taking the hand of a friend for support, Radha rose to her feet and joined the other gopis, and they started following Krishna's distinctive footprints. And as they walked along, what did they do? They hadn't met him, but they were preparing. They all started making garlands. Just like, before the deity opens, the girls are preparing garlands. Before we cook, we go to the market. It's all part of the process of Krishna consciousness, serving Krishna in a variety of ways. So as they're walking along, they're making garlands. And although it was a full moon night, and the dense trees created such darkness that the cowherd girls could hardly see one another, what to speak of Krishna's pastime. In Sarata Darshani, 10:30-42, one girl suggests, girls, this forest, a dark forest Krishna has retreated into, not even moonlight can enter. How can we follow him if we can't even see his footprints? Better we just go to the Jamuna and hope he comes to us. Because love is reciprocal. Actually, Krishna loves us more than we love him. We forgot him, but he never forgot us. He's waiting for us. So vice versa here. Better we go to the Jamuna and just wait for him to come to us. So other gopis agreed. They said, no one can see Krishna unless he wants to be seen. But if we chant his names constantly and his qualities, his heart will be moved. Then he will reveal himself to us without a doubt. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. But I'm just a little devotee, I just walked in the temple. And Prabhupada said one time, yes, but Radharani is the tender-hearted, compassionate feature of Krishna, personality, Ladini Shakti. She's very compassionate, and when she sees a young devotee just join the temple, who's sincere, making the best, she says, my Lord, look, they're in Watsika Avenue. Just one girl's walked in. She's 21. She wants to do it. You accept her as your servant. Krishna says, I will accept. So there's hope. It's like hope against hope, but there is hope by the mercy of our acharyas, by the mercy of Prabhupada, the most merciful incarnation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srimati Radharani, who will be thinking about this whole month and glorifying. There's hope for all of us. Never become despondent. So all the gopis agreed this was the best course of action, and they all went to the banks of the Jamuna, near where? Govinda Ghat. And there, deeply absorbed in Krishna, they sang of him in a unified concert of voices. Wow, that's poetry. They had a big Sankirtan. What was it like? Sir, it was a unified concert of voices chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So that concert the gopis had at the Jamuna at Govinda Ghat, that became famously known as Gopi Gita. Gopi Gita. And we have that Gopi Gita, that song. So in short, that's a summary. We don't have much more time. That's a summary of this particular Rasa dance, which will be performed on this night. Been performed 5,000 years ago, and since then as well, because Uppercut Leela, each year. So to honor this remarkable event, we'll make big pots of sweet rice. You can even put them if you're staying in some hotel somewhere. Don't mind, make a little pot of sweet rice, take it upstairs. Probably the monkeys will get it, but eventually, but in the sense that you're offering that to Radha Shyam. And here at our Krishna Balaram Mandir, I'm sure that Radha Shyam, Shyam Sundar and his beloved Sri Radha, they'll enjoy that sweet rice under the bright rays of the full moon. And if we're all very fortunate, we may all get a little drop of that Mahaprasadam tomorrow morning. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Gaurani Tai ki, Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Radha Shyama Sundar ki, Sharadiya Rasa Purnima Maha Mahotsava ki. The month of Kartik starting tomorrow, K. Go Premanande. Jai Jai Se Radhe Shyam. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare